Just days after announcing head coach Luke Fickell would return to Wisconsin for 2026, the Badgers got their first Big Ten win of the season against number 23 Washington. This win over Washington snapped a 10-game losing streak in the Big Ten Conference for the Badgers, and it was also Wisconsin's first ranked win since 2021. Danny O'Neal started this game at quarterback for Wisconsin, but he only played one complete drive. He had a 21-yard rush to open the team's second drive of the game, but he went down with a lower leg injury and had to be carted off the field. Luke Fickell turned to true freshman and former four-star Carter Smith. It was his first snaps of the season against Washington. He came in replacement for O'Neal, and his first play of the game was a 9-yard rush. Carter Smith is number 5 warming up on the field here, but neither one of these teams found the scoreboard until the second quarter. Washington went 3 and out on 2 of its first 3 possessions, and this game was tied at 3 until midway through the second quarter. Then on Wisconsin's 4th possession, Washington got the momentum shift that it needed. It was a pass breakup from Deshaun Lynch and a 9-yard sack by Jacob Lane to force a 4th and 18 punt from the Badgers' own red zone. Linebacker Anthony Ward got through the protection and got his hand on the punt, blocking it and giving Washington the football at the 1-yard line. And that point in the game felt like where Washington would start to take momentum and get things going on their side. They ended up scoring 2 plays later on a touchdown pass to Denzel Boston, but the first play of that drive was a Jonah Coleman run that was stuffed at the line of scrimmage. That run stop would be a microcosm of the rest of the game for this Washington running game. And a lot of that was due to the strength of Wisconsin's front 7 against the Washington offensive line, and I'll get to more of that later in this video. But throughout this game, Washington did suffer some injuries to key players, including Jonah Coleman. Late in the second quarter, Jonah Coleman caught a pass out of the backfield and took it 11 yards, but never returned to the game after getting tackled. Jed Fish talked about that injury after the game.
He got rolled up on the screen pass, so he got a 12 or 13-yard gain on the screen, and then kind of the way he landed and the way he fell, we couldn't put him back in the game.
Wide receiver Denzel Boston was also injured in this game on a punt return in the second quarter. He was carted off of the field, and Jed Fish addressed that one as well.
Denzel got rolled up on as well, his ankle on a play, so he was able to come back in at times. Then, other times he couldn't, but we'll have to evaluate what that looks like. But it was not as significant.
Rashawn Clark entered in place of Denzel Boston in the punt return game, and he had a 12-yard return later in the second quarter, but he also got banged up, which led Washington to turn to their third-string punt returner, true freshman receiver Desmond Roebuck. Boston ended up returning to the game. He led the team in receiving, 8 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Desmond Roebuck was the second leading receiver. He had 5 receptions for 27 yards. But the injuries didn't stop there. Along the offensive line, Drew Azzopardi left the game after playing 30 snaps at right tackle. He was replaced by Swane Fasolo. And center Landon Hatchett came out of this game after playing just 23 snaps. Zach Henning replaced him at the position, and here's what Jed Fish had to say about those injuries after the game.
Please follow directions of law enforcement personnel.
Drew we had to take out for lower leg injury, so we had to take him out at halftime, or a little bit before, I guess. And then we had to, or halftime, then we had to go with, and then Landon has a cast on his hand, and we felt like all week we were able to practice with it and let him play with it, but the way they were challenging him, it was we weren't able to go with it.
With Jonah Coleman sidelined in the second quarter, the offense turned to Adam Mohammed, who carried the football for the rest of the game, and he had his best performance since the UC Davis game of week 2. He carried the ball 12 times for 54 yards. That's an average of 4.5 yards per carry, and he also had a long run of 18 on the day. And the Washington head coach made sure to point out how well Adam Mohammed performed in a game with so much attrition around him on the offensive side of the ball.
Thought Adam Mohammed really ran well today, and in the situation of being really the lone back today, Jordan Washington had an illness, so he couldn't come. So just in combination of where we were, it was, I thought, hats off to him.
And you have to turn and look at what Wisconsin was able to do on the defensive side of the ball against Washington, specifically in its front 7. This team finished with 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries, and 34 pressures total. Linebacker Connor Catalano finished with 19 total tackles, 12 of which were solo. He also had 1.5 tackles for loss in this game. And linebacker Mason Posa finished the game with 11 tackles. He also had 2.5 sacks and 2.5 tackles for loss. And he forced the fumble on Damon Williams that set the Badger offense up at the goal line for the team's only touchdown of the game. Posa also made the game-sealing play for the Badgers. He sacked Damon Williams on 4th down, allowing the Badger offense to come out on the field into victory formation for their first ranked win in 4 years. This is what Jed Fish had to say about that Wisconsin front seven.
Well, I think it was certainly a mixture of their size. They've always had they have a very good defense. There's no surprise there. They're able to. They're very physical, which we knew they were going to be. We wound up having some injuries at center, right tackle, and running back. So that's going to make a difference. But in the end, I felt like there was times we got going in the running game a little bit. And, there were some unfortunates, like we had a 1st and 10, 8-yard run in the 2-minute drive at the end of the half, 2nd and 2, and then we get a 15-yard penalty for, pulling a guy off of Adam.
Early in the 4th quarter, Washington attempted a 50-yard field goal attempt down 13-10, but defensive lineman Ben Barton got his hand on the kick, blocking it, maintaining the Badgers' 3-point lead. And though Wisconsin did not score on that possession after the blocked field goal, the Badgers did continue to control the field position. But first, this is what went into the decision to kick that 50-yard field goal, according to Jed Fish.
Yeah, we were on the 31-yard line. We felt like the wind was in our favor there. We felt like we had a chance. Grady felt really good about the distance. It was going to be a 49-yarder. We felt like at that time we tie the game up. And if we don't make it, they get the ball on the 31-yard line. Defensively we were playing very good on defense. We felt like, there was plenty of time in the game. It was over 10 minutes, I believe. So we wound up not getting it. They blocked the kick. And then 6 plays later, they punt, but they wound up punting it back to us on the 4-yard line, and that was a challenge. We weren't really converting a ton of 3rd downs, so part of that went into it too. That the 4th and 5 going forward there, it was an either-or situation.
3 of Washington's final 5 drives in this game against Wisconsin started inside its own 10-yard line. The Huskies' average starting field position in this game was their own 25-yard line, and in the second half alone, Washington only reached inside the Badger 40-yard line on 1 of its 5 second-half possessions. And on the other side, Wisconsin's average starting field position was its own 45-yard line, and though they only gained an average of 15 yards per possession, the Badgers were able to control this game on defense and play opportunistic football, controlling field position throughout this game.
The field position today just felt like we were having to go 85, 90 yards almost every drive. And it's a real challenge with a defense like Wisconsin's. So altogether, just not a very good day for the Huskies, and need to make sure that we come back preparing for Purdue in a manner that we're ready to play our best game this coming Saturday.
Wisconsin held a 13-10 lead entering the 4th quarter, and with the announced attendance of just over 71,000, there was a lot of energy in the jump around. And these are what the final scenes looked like as the fans stormed the field after beating Washington. Next week, Washington is back at home inside Husky Stadium on November 15th against the Purdue Boilermakers, who are currently 0-7 in conference.